Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So my name's Katie and today we are going to be doing a very exciting video, and that is, well, all my videos are exciting, but this one's super exciting. And that is the top 10 most entertaining books of 2020. So this is kind of different from my overall top 10. This is more books that just were such a great time to read, and I just had a grin on my face the whole time. And they were just so entertaining and just made you feel so happy because I kind of always love books like that, and I feel like they just kind of remind you of the joy of reading. And some of these are laugh out loud funny, and some of them are just experiences. So yeah, so let's just get started. So the first book I have on this list was a recent venture, and that is From Blood and Ash and Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And these books, you have to know what you're getting, but because they are quite trashy, but also they're just so good. I don't know, I just enjoyed them so much. The romance is just so angsty and it's so over the top, and the books are just, they're so dramatic, things keep happening, and it's very over the top, but also you just kind of, it's like watching a kind of soap opera or that kind of thing. You're very invested even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So basically we're following Poppy, who's this maiden, and she's kind of very sheltered, and she's kind of has this veil over her face, and almost like a nun type thing, and she's kind of being saved, I don't know if that's the right word, but she's being protected before she kind of ascends. So they have these people called the Ascended, so Poppy's kind of in the care of them. And then one day this new bodyguard shows up called Hawk, and he is this charming Rhysand type character. And so, and he becomes Poppy's bodyguard, and then they have a bit of it's not really enemies to lovers, it's more just they're a bit bantery at first, and then, but then later on there's a twist, and it sort of, yeah, it's so juicy, and so much happens, and it's so fun. It's not a masterpiece of literature or anything, and I think if you're going to read it you have to know what you're getting. But if you like kind of Sarah J Maas, that type of thing, then I think you'll really like From Blood and Ash. Yeah, I just had so much fun reading it. I was listening to the audiobooks while I was commuting to my GP practice, my GP placement, and I just had so much fun listening to it. It's just, yeah, it's so addictive and so fun. So yeah, I would really recommend these books if you're looking for just something light-hearted, but also so I was so invested in the romance, and the steamy scenes. Oh, the steamy scenes, especially in Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, are really good. I don't know. Yeah, I was listening to them on the train, yeah. So then next we have Kissing the Coronavirus, and I knew I had to include this on the top 10 list somewhere, because honestly this book is absolute trash, but I had so much fun reading it. It's so ridiculous, but it's so it's so bad that it's kind of good. And I just had so much fun making my video for it and making fun of it, and just some of the metaphors that I used. If you want more you can watch my video, and I'm sure loads of other people have made videos about it. But now there's a sequel as well, which, oh, I have to read the sequel because I think Sophia read it, and there's this thing which is his dick punctured her esophagus, and at first I was how on earth did it get to the esophagus, but then I realised it was a blowjob. But yeah, so that's wild. I don't think that would happen even anyway, but you know. And I think the second book is a threesome because it's the coronavirus and the cure. But anyway, so yeah, this book is just, I wouldn't recommend it, but I'd recommend watching videos making fun of it. Just some of the language is ridiculous. So it's basically about this scientist who accidentally turns this person into the coronavirus, and he's call me COVID. But yeah, it's so funny, and then they sort of have this romance. It's only about 20 pages long, but yeah, so that's that one. Okay, then slightly more tasteful literature, we have the Murderbot series, which the first one is called All Systems Red. So this is another really fun series. Murderbot is such an iconic character. They're so funny, just their kind of inner dialogue, and so in each novella, kind of Murderbot's in a different situation, but basically Murderbot's really antisocial, and they just want to like sit in their thing and watch their kind of like soaps. Can't remember what they call them, like shows. I don't know what the American word is, but yeah. And what's it called? Is it like Harvest Moon? Or no, Sanctuary Moon, that's it. And yeah, so Murderbot's just this like iconic character, and then we kind of follow them interacting with different characters throughout. Like in the second book, there's this other sort of AI called Art, and I love Art so much. He's another one of the like really sassy AIs, but like, and then Murderbot introduces him to Sanctuary Moon. Oh, that's so precious. And then like in the third one, Murderbot meets this AI who's like really well treated by her humans, and so Murderbot's kind of grappling with like that, and it's so good. It's just such a great series. It's so entertaining, and I think it's quite good like beginner sci-fi as well, because they're quite short. They're novellas, so there's not a huge amount of world building. It's more like focused on the kind of characters and just this short like plot in each book. But yeah, Murderbot's just a great character, and the audiobooks are really good as well. I feel like they suit the tone of Murderbot's voice so well. Yeah, so I just really like that. And also there's a couple of like, well, one's out and one's coming out this year, full-length novels now, which is really exciting because I love Murderbot. Yeah, so that's that one. And then the next we have Diary of a Confused Feminist, which I never really see talked about on BookTube, but it's really fun. It's quite like, I would say it's a younger like teen YA audience, but I still really enjoyed it. This book is so funny. Like I laughed out loud so many times. And it's about this like girl and her friends, and they're trying to be feminists, but also there's this boy at school called Hot Josh, and so she's kind of trying to be like a feminist, but also she's really like crushing on this guy, and then she's kind of, but there's a lot of other like, and there's a lot of kind of important messages as well. Like you don't have to do anything like special to be a feminist, but yeah, so it's just so funny. There's a lot about periods as well, like which is really good. And like so the like what's it called, the back cover what's it, the synopsis is like, I will make the switch to a menstrual cup, henceforth becoming a model eco-friendly feminist. I will stop obsessing about Hot Josh. I do not need a man to complete me, even if he is as hot as Hot Josh. I will not accidentally throw my menstrual cup at Hot Josh. I will thusly become a better feminist, like a suffragette with a smartphone. So yeah, it is really good. And also Kate, the main character, she kind of has anxiety, or Kat, no, she's Kat, yeah, Kate's the author. Kat has anxiety, and that's also really interesting and like quite well explored, and she goes to therapy I think as well, which is also nice to see in a book. But yeah, this is just so funny. Like I was laughing out loud so much, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's that one. Okay, then next, this book is on like about 10 different, this book is on like half of my top 10 lists, but that's because I love it so much. But I couldn't make this list and not include it, and that is Giddy in the Night by Tamsin Muir. This book is just so funny. Like I didn't find it as funny the first time I read it, but on reread it's so good, and just the humour, especially well in Harrow as well, the humour is there's a lot of like overt humour, but there's also some really great subtle humour. And like running jokes, and it's so good. It's so entertaining. Gideon is such like an entertaining character, but yeah, just the things she says and like Gideon and Harrow's dynamic is so funny. And yeah, so what the book's about, so we're following Gideon, who is been brought up in the Ninth House. So there's like these 9 houses in this kind of empire. Harrowhawk is the reverend daughter of the Ninth House, so she's like super important and kind of the like almost princess of the Ninth House. And one day Gideon and Harrow recruits Gideon to be her cavalier, which is like her bodyguard, to go to this competition on the first house where they're trying to like ascend to lictorhood. And lictors are like these kind of almost god type figures. And Harrow's trying to become a lictor, and they're there in this house called Canaan House with like all the other houses, and there's like a team of a necromancer and a cavalier. So yeah, and then it kind of turns into this slight competition to see who can become a lictor first, but also a murder mystery because people keep dying. And yeah, it's so good. And Gideon and Harrow just have the best banter, and I really like all the other characters as well, from the other houses, like especially the 6th house. I love them. It's so entertaining. and a great time. And I would highly recommend the audiobooks as well, because Maury Quirk, who narrates them, is a really good narrator. And you can just see the skeletons like screaming and Giddy with the sunglasses. So yeah, it's so entertaining, and it's quite like a fresh take on sci-fi. And the first book I wouldn't say was it's not very sci-fi heavy, but it's really fun. So yeah, that's that one. Okay, then next we have a romance, because I always find romances so like entertaining and heartwarming, and this is probably my favourite romance of the year, and that is Taking Danny Brown. And I just love this book. It puts like a massive grin on your face, and like you're squealing because of the cheesiness, but also it's like so satisfying. And I really love so the main character Danny, and also her love interest Sophia. They're such great characters. Like Danny's this kind of quite high achieving like PhD student, and she's very like focused on work, and she doesn't really want a relationship. She just wants to like achieve success. But she's really like, she's very like badass, but she's also kind of got this really sweet side, and she kind of gets a bit of like anxiety about like, not quite social anxiety, but just like what's gonna happen in the future, I guess, type thing. And then Sophia's this like, he's so cute, he's a kind of a himbo. And yeah, he's just a big softie. But then one day they end up like having to fake date for like a publicity type thing for Sophia's like football club. I think it's football. It might be something else. It might be lacrosse. I can't remember. And yeah, so that's so funny. I always love the fake dating trope, and their dynamic together is just so good. And I'm so excited for Actually A.G. Brown, which is the third book, which comes out in March, so not that far away. So yeah, I love Taking Danny Brown. The whole Brown Sisters series is so much fun and so heartwarming. And yeah. Then in number 7 we have The Martian. So this is not in any order, by the way. I'm just doing random. Which is by Andy Weir. And this is another like sci-fi, which is just, it's really good. Like, it's a really well written book, but also it's so fun because the main character, Mark Watney, his like voice is so funny and so entertaining, and he's like explaining all these complicated science concepts and like botany and stuff, but he just has so much humour and like lightheartedness, and there's a lot of like almost humorous moments in the book, but they're not quite like exactly overtly humorous, but they're so funny to me. Like, there's this one scene where I think he's trying to make water, but he accidentally fills the whole like hab up with hydrogen and then he's like hiding in the van and so it's like told in diary updates, so suddenly in the next like diary update he's hiding in the van because he's worried he's made the hab into a bomb. And I don't know why I found that funny, but I did. And there's so many like little moments like that, and like his love for potatoes. But yeah, it's a really great book and very entertaining. I would say that was another really good like beginner sci-fi if you're looking to get more into sci-fi, and the audiobook is also fantastic for that one as well. I feel like the narrator really gets Mark Watney's voice. Okay, then next we have The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, which sprayed edges, I love them. I will always show them off. But yeah, I feel like this was the book that like converted me to sprayed edges. Yeah, so this book is another one that's just, it's really like well written book, but also it kind of puts a smile on your face, and just some of the moments like kind of ridiculous but also so entertaining. Like, there's this one scene where they're being chased down the street by a giant Starbucks cup, so it's just like a bit over the top in that way, but also it's got some really great like messages and themes. And we're basically following these 5 avatars of the different boroughs of New York, so they're all kind of personified. And they're trying to team up to find the like main New York avatar because he's in danger. And they're being thwarted by like this woman in white. Because in this world the cities kind of come alive, and New York's just starting to come alive. So they're kind of trying to like help New York almost blossom into this city that's alive. So yeah. So it's really good. There's a lot of like crazy moments, but it's such like a fun, fast-paced read. And yeah, N.K. Jemisin just has such great writing, and her characters are always really well crafted. And you feel the like personifications of the boroughs. And I mean, I don't know that much about New York, but I feel like I learned so much about New York from reading this. Just not in terms of like, just in terms of its kind of almost culture. But yeah, so I really enjoyed that. If you're looking for like an entertaining but also really hard-hitting fantasy, then this one is great. Then next we have Kings of the Wild and Bloody Rose by Nicholas Eames, and these are another one which is just, especially Kings of the Wild, it's just so fun. And so we're following, in the first one, following this kind of band, and it's like these like old men, and they're like getting the band back together, because in the world they have these bands of mercenaries who like go around performing, like destroying the beasts and stuff. And yeah, it's so funny. There's so many funny moments, like there's so much good stuff. Like one of the characters, the wizard, I think he's called Moog, he's so funny. And yeah, it really, like, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It just sort of knows like it's kind of a fun like ride. And I've heard it compared to a D&D campaign, which I've never played, but I'm assuming people who've said that know about it. So if you like that, then you'll probably like Kings of the Wild. But yeah, and I feel like Kings of the Wild is like 70s band references, and then Bloody Rose is 80s, and then the next book, which I can't remember what that one's called, gonna be 90s. But yeah, it's just so fun, and there's so many like references. And then the sequel, Bloody Rose, we're kind of following Tam, who's this bard, and she sort of joins Bloody Rose, who's like this who's like this iconic figure, her band. And Bloody Rose's band has this like reputation for not being able to keep their bards alive. So and I always remember this scene where it's like Tam says she's the bard, and then someone's like, "And you're alive," which is really funny. And yeah, Tam's a great character as well. But yeah, they're both really entertaining. I feel like Bloody Rose just hits you in the emotions a bit more, but they're both really good, and I would highly recommend them. I kind of want to reread them because they're just so fun. Okay, and then finally we have A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by TJ Kingfisher, and this one is, I just had a huge grin the whole time. Like, it's kind of ridiculous, but also it's so like fun, and Mona, the main character, she's so like I don't know, she's really easy to root for. And so we're following Mona, and she is this like apprentice baker, and she has this like magical ability to sort of animate baked goods. Like, so there's these people in the world who have like all these cool powers, but then she's just there with her little like dancing gingerbread man, and she sort of ends up getting embroiled in this like plot to take over the city, because I think there's a murder that happens like in her bakery, and she sort of ends up involved with like the queen of the city and stuff, or the ruler of the city. I'm not entirely sure if she's a queen. And Mona basically ends up somehow leading this like force against these people who are trying to siege the city. And it's so fun. And like they're trying to build these like giant gingerbread men, and it just reminded me of Shrek. And it's just her kind of using her powers to like learning how to use them in like a different way from what she would normally. But it's so entertaining, and there's there's a really good friendship. I can't remember the boy's name, but yeah, it's really cute and really fun, especially if you like baking. So yeah, so that is my list. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments what your most entertaining read of 2020 was. I would love to know. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I hope you're all having a great day, and I will see you next time.